Kofalt moves that House Bill 1217 be moved to the next order of business. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? No. The ayes have it. 1217 is happening. The Committee on Judiciary, to which was referred House Bill 1217, an act permitting classification of individuals based on biological sex under certain limited circumstances. Having considered the same, report the same with the recommendation that the bill be referred for interim study. Representative Catherine Rombo for the committee. Representative Kofalt is recognized to speak against the committee report. Oh, I'm sorry, for what reason does a member rise?
To make a motion.
All right, state your motion.
To lay this bill on the table.
Representative Alessandra Murray moves that House Bill 1217 be laid on the table. And a division's been requested. Members, take your seats. Representative Sweeney has asked for a roll call. Is that sufficiently seconded? That is sufficiently seconded. This will be a roll call vote. Members, take your seats still. The question is whether to lay House Bill 1217 on the table. Representative Weber is recognized for a parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I know that House Bill 1217 was recommended for interim study by a vote of 17-0 in the committee, and if I know that we have heard concerns about the amount of time we are spending on getting our bills done, would I now vote to table House Bill 1217 so we can move along speedily? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I press the red button.
Representative Kofalt is recognized.
I'm sorry, green button. Green button.
That's why we ask. Representative Kofalt is recognized for parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I know that the committee report on this bill acknowledged that there was general support for the bill in the committee, and I believe, Mr. Speaker, if I believe, therefore, that this body as a whole deserves to hear the bill and consider it on its merits, would I then press the red button to defeat the tabling motion so that we can continue with this bill?
The question is whether to lay House Bill 1217 on the table. This is a roll call vote. If you are in favor, press the green button. Opposed, press the red. Voting stations are open for 30 seconds.
Representative Richards.
Have all members present had an opportunity to vote? The House will attend to the state of the vote. 168 in the affirmative, 180 in the negative. Tabling motion fails. And Representative Kofalt is recognized to speak against the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I noted a moment ago, the committee report for this bill acknowledges that many members of the Judiciary Committee generally looked favorably on the bill. They felt, however, that it was duplicative of other legislation. I would like to point out that in fact there are several small but very important differences. The sponsor of this bill crafted it to address two very specific scenarios, namely bathrooms, locker rooms, and other intimate spaces, and athletic events or competitions in which physical strength, speed, or endurance are generally recognized to give an advantage to biological males. Perhaps most importantly, this bill clearly and explicitly states that classification based on biological sex is optional, stating no public or private entity is required to separate persons based on biological sex. This explicit provision ensures that public schools and other entities will remain free to decide how their individual communities should navigate these complex issues. Mr. Speaker, I ask my colleagues to join me in pressing the red button to oppose the interim study motion so that another motion may be brought forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Alessandra Murray is recognized to speak for the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, the majority of the committee did not support this bill, and the previous speaker is misrepresenting the committee report as it was printed in the calendar. Many of you were not present for my unanimous consent remarks after session a couple weeks ago, although you all got to vote on them again today. In those remarks, I read a quote that was displayed on a sign outside of this building. With this legislation that's been introduced, even when it doesn't pass, it creates an environment that's permissive of anger and vitriol towards our community. That quote has stayed with me because we are witnessing that environment take shape in real time in this chamber. Rather than hearing data that substantiates the need for legislation of this kind, we are hearing sweeping condemnations of transgender people, rhetoric that paints an entire community as inherently dangerous. Bills like HB1217 do not exist in a vacuum. They create a sanctioned platform for suspicion, fear, and hostility towards a small and already vulnerable group of Granite Staters. The facts simply do not support the narrative that's being advanced. Transgender women are significantly more likely to be victims of violence than cisgender women. Research consistently shows that transgender individuals experience violent victimization at rates more than 4 times higher than cisgender people. Transgender women, particularly transgender women of color, face the highest risk and account for the majority of fatal violence against transgender people nationwide. In public bathrooms specifically, the data is clear. Transgender people are far more likely to be harassed, denied access, or assaulted than anyone else. One report found that 68% of transgender people experience verbal harassment, and 99% experience physical assault in a public restroom in just 1 year. There is no credible evidence that allowing transgender people to use restrooms consistent with their gender identity increases safety risks. In fact, bathroom restrictions increase their vulnerability. HB1217 is premised on the idea that the mere presence of transgender people in public restrooms is inherently suspect. That premise is not supported by evidence. It is discrimination, plain and simple. It is also unconstitutional. The equal protection and guarantees of both the New Hampshire and the United States Constitutions do not permit the government to single out a single class of people and exclude them from public life based on fear rather than fact. We pride ourselves in New Hampshire on live free or die, and freedom must mean something for all of us, or it means nothing. The reality is that trans Granite Staters already navigate daily life with heightened vigilance. When my friends and I plan outings, we use the restroom before we leave the house. We research safe establishments to go to in advance. We use apps to identify single-stall facilities or explicitly LGBTQ-friendly businesses. We strategize around something most people never have to think twice about. That is not freedom, that is survival. And this bill will not make anyone safer. It will not solve a documented problem. What it will do is codify stigma, invite confrontation, and place already vulnerable people at greater risk. I urge you to reject HB 1217. Our job as legislators is not to legislate fear. It is to uphold constitutional principles, to protect the safety of all Granite Staters, and ensure that every single person can participate in public life with dignity. Thank you.
Does the member yield for a question? No. The member does not yield. Representative Leon requests a roll call vote. Is that sufficiently seconded? It is. This will be a roll call vote. Members, take your seats. The question is the Majority Committee Report of Interim Study on House Bill 1217. Representative Leon is recognized for a parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I know that this bill was sent to interim study as potentially duplicative, but there are several small but critical differences. If I know that this bill addresses intimate spaces like bathrooms and locker rooms, as well as athletic and sporting events where there's a difference in strength and stamina and endurance where men have an innate advantage. And if I know that this would provide an option, not a mandate, and our voters sent us here to protect their daughters, their wives, their sisters, would I then press the red button so that another motion could be made?
Representative Rumbo is recognized for a parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I know that two different governors vetoed nearly identical language to HB 1217 3 separate times in 2024, 2025, and 2026, and if I know those veto statements cited a range of concerns, including the lack of need for such legislation, its vague language, the impracticality of implementation, and the potential to create an exclusionary environment for some of our citizens, and finally, if I know that in any event, HB 1217 duplicates other proposed legislation the committee majority already has coming to the floor in coming weeks, would I now support the unanimous 17-0 bipartisan position of the Judiciary Committee and push the green button for interim study? Thank you.
The question is the Majority Committee Report of Interim Study on House Bill 1217. This is a roll call vote. If you are in favor, press the green button. Opposed, press the red. Voting stations are open for 30 seconds. Have all members present had an opportunity to vote? The House will attend to the state of the vote. 168 in the affirmative, 180 in the negative. The motion fails. Representative Leon moves ought to pass. Are you ready for the question? I don't know who was first. Who requested the roll call? I heard Representative Leon. It was you again. All right, Representative Leon requests a roll call, and it is sufficiently seconded. This will be a roll call vote. Members, take your seats. You should be in them. The question is motion ought to pass on House Bill 1217. This is a roll call vote. If you're in favor, press the green button. Opposed, press the red. Voting stations are open for 30 seconds.
Representative Morton.
Have all members present had an opportunity to vote? The House will attend to the state of the vote. 187 in the affirmative, 163 in the negative. The motion is adopted.